The following is a public access production. It is not produced, sponsored, or endorsed by this station, the local government, or the cable providers. The program producer is solely responsible for the content of this program.
Hi, welcome to Senior Solutions. I'm your host, Karen Halloran from Azure Healthcare. Today we have Ron Trapasso from Wilson Group, Keller Williams Realty. Thank you for coming on the show today, Ronald.
My pleasure, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Glad to be here.
Why don't we just jump right in, and you can tell me what inspired you to get into real estate?
Oh, that's a great question. So real estate is a second career for me. I was inspired to get into real estate through my own personal experience trying to buy a home here in Greater Boston. It was not easy. If anyone remembers the market before 2008, it was one of those markets where the prices were going up and the bidding was going on. And as someone uneducated trying to buy for the first time, my wife and I had a really hard time trying to buy a home around Boston. And we actually ended up asking my mom to help us. My mom was a part-time broker on and off throughout my whole childhood, and I never really understood what she did because she kind of did it on the side. But she was, the way we were able to actually get a house in that really competitive market. And I just sort of became fascinated with the whole thing. I already started love looking at houses and kind of analyzing them from a investment opportunity. Mm-hmm. And we just spent so much time over those years trying to buy that I felt like I knew the market. I had looked at my wife will tell you, we looked at so many houses, and I'm sure many buyers out there can relate to that. But not until we had my mom on our side were we really able to get on the right track and buy that house. And I just kind of became fascinated with the whole thing. So I got my real estate license, and honestly, I didn't put it to use right away. I had another career going, and it was going well, and I did like what I did. But eventually, when I just kind of fell in love with real estate and kept thinking about more and more. And then eventually, I just knew the career path I was on was not for me. And I made the jump into real estate and kind of never looked back since.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So why come on Senior Solutions today?
Well, first of all, I couldn't say no to you. You did a really good job. I couldn't say no to you, and I appreciate the invitation. And as you know, I work a lot with seniors. A lot of my clients are older adults. A lot of times it's maybe a senior citizen and their adult children. I also have worked a lot, with estates in my career. And, it's nothing I originally ever set out to do, but I think I've kind of aged into it, frankly. Mm-hmm. As my career has always sort of been based on working with people who know, like, and trust me. Mm-hmm. So I'm very referral based. And as I got older, everyone I knew got older too. So we started helping my friends' grandparents, and then we started helping their parents, and then even in a lot of my clients, they might be first-time home buyers, but then they connect me to their parents when they want to make a real estate move.
Right.
So I've learned over the years too, the seniors and their families are probably some of the most appreciative clients. Mm-hmm. As you might know, sometimes selling a home, buying a home, moving, it can all be kind of stressful, mm-hmm. Not only just for the homeowner, but their families. And I have always found that the seniors and their adult children really value what I do as a realtor. And that's a really nice feeling. It's a completely different type of client. There's usually, I don't want to say a lot more work, but there's usually a lot more involved. As you know, mm-hmm. when there's a client and then the client's family, there's a lot of people we all need to keep happy.
Exactly.
But I love it. I like it because for an older adult and their children to trust me means a lot.
You can tell you really like helping people.
Well, you have to, and just like what you do, you
Right.
have to in this business.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
So
you have the designation SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist.
Yep.
Can you just tell us what that is?
sure, not surprising. It kind of is exactly what it says. It's an optional designation that people can take with additional training. So not many realtors out there have it. But it focuses on the training that you need to work with older adults. Now, and it covers a lot of different times in life. It might just be empty nesters, but it might also be older adults who are starting to have mobility issues within their home. Mm-hmm. That's a big reason why a lot of people move is, the bedroom and the bathroom is upstairs. Right? And the kitchen's on the first floor. A lot of these older homes are not really ideal for aging in place, as you know. But the training really speaks to the needs of the older adults, the things that they're really considering. Also talks too about how the finances are different for an older adult than a younger person, right? Mm-hmm. And what I really like about the training is it kind of gives you an all-encompassing view of all the factors that are involved. People's health issues, their family, the mobility, the finances, and giving people as many options as possible, believe it or not, to stay in their home, or if they can't stay in their home, help them find the next home that's going to be right for them. That's a big part of why people move is they want to downsize and have the right amenities for their current lifestyle. And the other thing that I found really important about the SRES designation, which I didn't realize at first, if I'm honest, it makes people who work with seniors feel comfortable referring you and trusting you. I know a lot of people within our network who we know a lot of the same people. They want to know you're certified, that you're a senior real estate specialist because, let's face it, it takes a lot of trust to refer clients.
It does.
So that's been a big help to have that designation.
So people think you just sell houses, but there are so many other ways that you're helping people. Can you just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, well, so I do just sell houses, but as you probably know, there's a lot of work behind the scenes before we even get that sign in the yard, right? And, I love real estate, but I don't know if I necessarily love the public image of a real estate agent, if I'm honest.
Sure.
It was kind of one of the things that encouraged me to go into the business because I had felt like I had met a lot of agents in our time where they were doing quite well, but maybe I didn't feel like I got the kind of information or help I really would have liked as a consumer. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of always inspired me to be a better agent than a lot of the other agents that are out there. So in terms of just selling houses, that's what people think. They think, and look, we live in an area where houses sell. I get it. We have very few homes to sell, and luckily a lot of people want to live here. So if your home is priced right and in good condition and properly marketed, it's going to sell.
Sure.
So people do think it's very easy, but what they don't know is to sell for the most money with the least amount of headaches, there's a lot of preparation work that has to happen before.
Right.
And you're talking specifically about seniors, some of that work can look like getting the older adults' parents and their adult children on the same page.
Sure.
As you probably know, a lot of times people are spread out. Mom or dad are here in Natick, but there's one son's in New Hampshire and the daughter's in Florida. And I'm kind of in the middle, try to helping everyone navigate. Yeah, we'll get everyone on the same page because it's so important.
Right.
And then for folks who have been in their home for a long time, there's a lot that goes into getting the house ready to sell, and getting them ready to move. They're the same thing.
You become like a counselor, I think, too.
People say that a lot. You must be like a therapist. And I've never really kind of liked that analogy because, what we do is important and I love it, but, we're not saving lives. But there is an emotional aspect to it.
Totally.
And
people want that support.
They do. And they want to know you care. And they want to know, especially working with seniors, just like if someone was working with your mother or father, you would want to make sure they had their best interests at heart. So there is a lot more work that goes into selling a home than simply just putting it on MLS and putting a sign in the yard. That's for sure.
I know that for sure.
I think the TV shows have oversimplified it for everybody.
I think so. What are some of the biggest challenges seniors and families are facing now?
Oh, well, that's a great question. It kind of just ties into what we were just talking about. I have found for most people, not even older adults, but I think even more so with older adults, if they've been in their home 20, 30, 40 years, let's face it, we accumulate stuff. No matter how big your home is, you probably have more stuff in it than you need. And I have found that it's one of the biggest reasons why seniors hesitate to make a move. Because they go, I don't know, maybe you've seen this. They go, what am I going to do
with all my
stuff? And it's kind of, well, my kids want to come and get all this stuff. And, and I don't know what I can take and what I can leave. And I really empathize because it is overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
And then the other piece of that becomes, who's going to physically help them get things sorted out, get what they're going to take with them to the next place, and help kind of get everything else to where it's got to go, whether it's family or donations or there might be some level of clean out. That's probably one of the biggest parts of helping these folks is that's the
getting ready.
It's the getting ready. It's almost like the biggest challenge is getting over the fear of the unknown. Where am I going to go? How am I going to get all the stuff out of here? How am I going to pay for it? There's a lot of questions that I work to help people answer very early in the process. And that might be one of the biggest misconceptions that I see out there. People think, I'm only going to call Ron when I'm ready to stick a sign in the yard and do an open house. And it just doesn't work that way. No. You probably see it in your business. I generally meet with older adults at least a year before they actually sell.
Sure.
I've been in touch with people 4 or 5 years, 3 years before they sell, and that's great because what they need to hear from me is, here's the kind of places you could go. Maybe we downsize you to a condo. Maybe we find you a ranch-style home that's one level, that's very popular right now. Maybe we look at apartments. Maybe you're going to move in with family. Maybe I can recommend contractors who can help you modify your home so you can age in place longer. I'm doing that quite a bit too. And then the other things we start to talk about is, how do we downsize? How do we start paring down the stuff? Who could help them sort and pack? There are professionals that can do that, and they're very affordable. And what is the whole selling process and maybe a buying process? What does it look like to them? Because they haven't done it in so long, and it's changed so much.
Right.
So
what are maybe some of the mistakes that folks could make?
Well, I think that's probably one of them, is thinking they have to wait till they're ready to sell to talk to an SRES or to a realtor like myself. I think the earlier the homeowner and their family, if there is one, start having those conversations, the better it goes. Because I have found, especially if people are, really getting older, maybe they are starting to have health challenges, mobility challenges, maybe they're isolated, maybe they're the only person still in the home. We see that sometimes. Getting that whole plan started sooner is so much better than the alternative, which I'm sure you see too. The alternative is something happens, right? Someone falls,
Right.
someone has an incident, someone gets hurt, and now they can't go back to their home. And there's now an emergency that needs to be
Right.
dealt with. And obviously with most things, you're gonna have a better result if you plan in advance.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So besides helping seniors, who else do you work with?
Thank you for asking that question. That's a great question. So I work in residential real estate. So I work with all your typical buyers and sellers. So I work quite a bit still with first-time home buyers. Our first-time home buyers in Greater Boston have gotten a little older. They're rarely in their 20s these days. They're often in their 30s, maybe their 40s. So I can really relate to what's going on in their lives. A big part of my business is, well, I would call it repeat clients. They bought their first home with me, and now they're further in life, and maybe they're married, maybe they have kids. Now it's maybe time to go from a condo or a small house closer to the city, and maybe to a bigger home out in the suburbs. Schools are starting to be a little more important. So I do a lot of what I call a step-up buyer. They sell the condo or smaller home, or we rent it out for them. That's another thing. I have a lot of landlord clients, and most of them bought their first home with me, and it turned out to be a great investment property. So they hang on to it because they want to enjoy the market appreciation that we have here, and the cash flow because they bought it right, got a good mortgage on it. So we'll help rent their first home, and we'll help them buy the new home. But I also work in reverse a lot too, kind of more on the older adult side of things. I think the empty nester is the easiest one. Married couple, the kids are finally through school, they're out of the house, they're still working, they're still far from retirement, but they don't need
A huge house.
a big
anymore.
house in Natick or Wayland or in Newton, wherever it may be, and they don't want to pay the taxes on a school that their kids aren't in anymore. Now it's time to downsize. So we might actually go in reverse. We may sell the big home in the suburbs and actually come closer to the city. And maybe we downsize to a smaller house or a condo. So I do that a lot. And I also love working with investors, people who flip homes, developers and builders. I mean, that kind of stuff is really fun too. So I really do cover a lot of ground.
You do.
You know.
And that brings me to my next question,
Yeah.
is what areas do you work in?
Great question. So we're really lucky here in Greater Boston. We're very dense, right? So no surprise to you, our issue isn't distance, it's traffic, right?
Right.
So I always say to people, I grew up here, I've lived most of my life all around Boston. So I'm a Greater Boston real estate agent. And that has kind of stretched over time because with people working from home now, people have more options a little further away from the city that make a lot
Sure.
more sense now. So my office is in Newton, which is a great home base. It's very easy to get into Boston and work with Boston clients, but it's also very easy to come out here to Metro West. I'm also on the North Shore quite a bit. That's where I grew up. And I've worked a lot on the South Shore these past couple of years too. So if it's within an hour of Boston, I likely can help you. And the thing that's important to remember is I'm licensed in the entire state of Massachusetts, and I'm part of a large team. So the Wilson Group, we have 8 full-time agents on the team, so we have the ability to scale and cover a lot more ground. So,
Great.
yeah.
Who is the Wilson Group and Keller Williams?
So great question. So the Wilson Group is a real estate team at Keller Williams Realty, Chestnut Hill, which is Keller Williams Newton office.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go in reverse. Keller Williams Realty, which I'm sure a lot of people know, is the largest international real estate franchise in the world. So our reach it's global. We have an amazing network of real estate agents across North America, which makes it very easy for me to help people relocating out of Massachusetts or into Massachusetts. And we really have been the leaders in real estate for years. Gary Keller still owns the company. He's a real estate visionary, and we have the tools and training that I really feel like no other brokerage really has. And then the Wilson Group is the #1 team at Keller Williams Realty Chestnut Hill. We've been
congratulations.
We've been the #1 team there for 13 years. And what's very exciting is it was just announced recently, we're the #3 team in all of New England for Keller Williams Realty. So that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So the team we're 8 full-time agents, and we have 4 dedicated admins, for lack of a better term. We have a director of operations, a director of marketing. We have a full-time transaction coordinator.
Wow.
And it's great because they're in the office supporting us and our clients all day. And the rest of us as agents are able to do what we love, which is help our clients.
Right.
So it's a pretty great thing. The owner's Ryan Wilson, and he's been a top agent in the area for 15 years or more.
So it sounds like there's a lot of advantages to working with a group.
Oh, well, there is. And I'm sure you've noticed this has really become a trend in real estate. I think the thing that's so different about real estate now and when my mom was a broker is the pace that everything has to move. I mean, my mom kind of teases me. I always say, you should come back to real estate. And she kind of says, no way. It goes too fast now because everyone's got the phone in their hands. All the answers are on the internet. You got the GPS, and we have to move so quick. And I mean, I'm sure you know what home sales are like in our area.
Right.
They sell very quickly here. And if you don't have an agent who has the leverage to be able that they can see you when you need to see you, get you in the house you need to see, answer the phone when you call, it's actually a disadvantage.
Right.
So having the team allows us to have that coverage and flexibility. I mean, I'm able to do this right now with you because I have teammates covering for me right now.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank them. But it speaks to the point that you can't do everything at once. And unfortunately, real estate is, it's so much more than just showing houses.
Right.
So there's a lot of other advantages to working with the team, and I think probably the other biggest one to just quickly mention, specialty buyers. We're signing listings every day.
Right.
But those listings may not come on the market tomorrow. They usually don't come on for months. Our buyers are going to always know first about any properties that are coming soon. So it's kind of a nice built-in advantage.
That is great.
You basically have 8 other agents working on your behalf.
That's pretty good.
It's cool, yeah.
So what are you seeing in the market right now?
So great question. We're clearly in the spring market now. Mm-hmm. I know I told you just, and it's like someone flipped a switch about a month or so ago, and it happens every spring, but somehow I'm always surprised. December and January are always pretty slow, but people are definitely jumping back into the market now. We're seeing more and more listings come on for the spring. And there's, just like always, they're generally selling pretty quickly. Here in Greater Boston, we have no land to build houses, for the most part. And if you are building a house, you might have had to actually tear a house down in order to build it. Mm-hmm. So your cost to build is already so expensive. So for better or worse, we do have a limited amount of affordable homes around here. But the great thing about living here is there's really great jobs, great schools, great towns and neighborhoods. It's a great place to live and raise a family. So we have lots of people who want to be here. We actually have way more people that want to be here and own homes than we have homes to sell them. Mm-hmm. So the market is still strong. I mean, I've been doing this for over 12 years. Most of my career has been what we would call a seller's market.
Right.
I mean, I chose to get into real estate after the crash of '08, and people thought I was crazy. But I bought my house shortly after the crash of '08, and I remember I'm in a multiple bid situation on a fixer-upper house in February in the worst economy we've seen in decades. and I'm fighting for this house. So it just kind of always made me feel really good about the value of a home here. So the market's very strong right now, and I think we're geared to see it get even more competitive as we go further into the year, because we are hearing more and more predictions about interest rates finally going down. So that's got buyers excited, and I think it's got a lot of sellers excited because it's going to allow them to make a move as well.
That sounds great. Let's talk about something that's been in the news.
Okay.
So last week, the National Association of Realtors were seeing a class action lawsuit from home sellers in Missouri. How will that affect your industry? Let's just talk about that for a minute.
Well, it's very topical. We found out on Friday that the National Association of Realtors has proposed a settlement. And I think that's really important to remember. There's a lot of news out there right now that hasn't been completely accurate, unfortunately, but it's a proposed settlement. The courts haven't approved it yet, but what it all stems from is a court case in Missouri where a group of home sellers, felt like they didn't really have the options that they should have had when selling their homes. Basically, they felt that they were forced to pay a 6% commission. They were forced to pay a buyer's broker as well as their seller's agent. Now, I don't know the details of that actual trial very well, but I think what's going to happen here is I think the National Association of Realtors wants to move past this. They have admitted no wrongdoing, but I think they probably recognize they could be in the courts for years fighting this case and a lot of copycat cases, frankly. So as part of that settlement, there's going to be changes to how agents talk about commissions and the options that we give our sellers. What is a little frustrating is for good agents like myself who have prided themselves on doing the business the way it's supposed to be done, providing real value to our clients, being transparent in all things, and giving them options. Not much is really going to change for us other than we're probably going to have revised paperwork and how we speak to people will have to change. But I think what will also change is, frankly, the bad agents out there who really weren't doing what they should be doing are going to either have to fall in line or probably not be able to survive in the business. But for us, I'm optimistic that consumers are actually just going to benefit more from this because there's no harm in us clarifying the value we provide and in having transparency with commissions. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But exactly how this plays out, we don't know.
We'll have to see.
We probably won't know any earlier than July.
Okay, well, we'll have to stay tuned for that.
We're tuned for sure.
Well, I'd really like to thank you for coming on the show today.
My pleasure.
If somebody would like to get in touch with you and needs more information, how would they do so?
Sure. Well, I know you have my information, but again, my name's Ronald Trapasso. I'm a realtor with the Wilson Group at Keller Williams Realty, Chestnut Hill, which is in Newton, Massachusetts. Best way is my cell phone, 617-285-2737. You can give me a call or text me. And I know you guys are going to put up the email and the website and all that stuff. Just Google me, you'll find me.
Excellent. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Karen.
And thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, have a great day.